by GoVini, so if you need Wi-Fi, please connect using those. Program for the most up-to-date information on LANPAC, you can scan our QR code, and it has all the details for this event's agenda. Feel free to download that on your phone. And I do want to thank again all of the companies that are exhibiting with us, as well as our sponsors. They are without a doubt an integral part of this event. We have 77 companies displaying the latest equipment, products, and services for the Army. Like you, they've come a very long way to participate in this event. So we are dedicating exhibit hall hours, so you have plenty of time to visit with the displays, visit with our exhibitors and our sponsors. We also have exhibits over in the Hawaii Ballroom again this year. So much interest in this event that we expanded our exhibit hall both next door and in the Hawaii Ballroom. So when you have a chance, go down to the Hawaii Ballroom and meet with our exhibitors. And as I mentioned at the beginning, that's also where we're doing a free live stream. So again, if you don't want to stand and you want to have a chance to sit down, we have seating and a free live stream over in the Hawaii Ballroom. All right, with that, I ask that you silence your phones or iPads or anything that makes noise. And ladies and gentlemen, we will open the session now with a Hawaiian blessing. It is my pleasure to introduce Kumo Ramsey Taum. It is with much aloha that we welcome him to offer the opening to our conference. And then following the Hawaiian blessing, our President and CEO, General Robert Brown, will officially open the conference. Thank you.
Aloha kakahiaka, aloha. Mahalo, wow, that's a roaring aloha. One more time, aloha. Yeah, thank you so much. Welcome to paradise, so they say. That's different than a pair of dice. Hopefully we won't be having to gamble on anything today. And that's always a good thing, because here in Hawaii we say start right, end right. One of the best ways to do that is to ask for blessings. And I say that, General Brown, because as much as they request a blessing, I can't give you one, but I certainly can ask for one. It's important that when we ask and receive our blessing, that we do so with a clean mind and a clean heart, an open mind and an open heart. We don't want to bless the mess. So I'd like to ask each of you at this moment, in the spirit of aloha, which is reciprocity, giving and receiving, is to look into your heart and into your mind. If you walked into this room this morning, if you woke up on whatever side of the bed it was, and you were holding some anger, some disgust, some fear, or you were thinking of someone that you need to ask for forgiveness, or to extend that forgiveness, whatever that may be, this is the opportunity to ho'oponopono, to release, to let go, to extend forgiveness to that person, to receive forgiveness that perhaps you've been looking for. The purpose for that, of course, is to enter the next few hours, the few days together with the heart of Allah. Please do that now. Take a moment. E hulukono no ke kino ame ka ohane. He maalama pono ka manao ke ola ke kino I ka manawa a pauloa. Aloha, aloha, aloha. In those words we say, unify your mind, your body, and your spirit. To be whole, to be purposeful, to be one, and to connect it. To nurture and care for that unification through all time. It reminds us that we're all connected, that we're all family. And like our ancient voyagers have demonstrated here in the Pacific, the ocean does not disconnect us, but actually connects us. And if you look at the islands of Hawaii, it may look like we're disconnected on the surface. But when you look deeper, we're all connected. So in the spirit of aloha and ho'oponopono, please forgive me and my ancestors for whatever we may have done to create a condition in your lives and the lives of your ancestors, your families, that has created the conditions that brought us here today, so that we must find a way to release, to let go, and to create that peaceful space in the world that we all hope for ourselves as well as for our descendants. Please forgive us for all of those things. In the spirit of aloha and the reciprocity, my ancestors and I forgive you and your ancestors. For whatever it was you've done in word, deed, or action, inaction, that may have created the pilikia, the eha, the pain, the discomfort, that has been part of these lands, part of our people's history and existence. For we now come together to make those things right, to put this into proper order. Everyone say ponno. Anaho, ponno. Yeah, to make it right. It is in that spirit of aloha, as well as Ho'oponopono. We forgive you and your ancestors. And it is in that unification, it is that aloha that we start this day. So with that, a message of aloha. Please say akahai or akahai. When you say akahai, that says kindness, to be gentle with one another. And in the spiritual language of our ancestors, when you say aka, that means to shadow or to mirror. Good morning, Governor. To mirror what? The ha, the life-giving breath of the divine spirit called the creative energy. So when we say akahai, that says to be the reflection of that spirit and the divine energy. When you're that, how can you be anything but kind? Eo? Everyone say lokahi. Lokahi means to operate in solidarity, to look for unity, opportunity to work as one organization, as one community, as one family. How about this word? Olu olu. That's to be pleasant. To be able to agree to disagree without being disagreeable. That's olu olu. You try that one for a while, huh? Yeah, that's a tough one. Everyone say ha'a ha'a. Yeah, ha'a ha'a. That's about humility, finding the humble spirit. And all that really means is being able to acknowledge and recognize someone else, their words, their thoughts, their ideas, which demonstrates your own ha'a, your own brilliance by recognizing others. This is humility. Ha. Last one, say aho nui. In fact, let's do aho nui. Everyone take a deep breath. Release it. Aho nui. That means to take a deep breath, but it also means to be patient, to be tolerant, but also to be persistent. And in the word aho nui, how many of you like turtles? You like turtles? There's a bunch of turtles out here. You know, the honu, the turtle, when the honu senses tension on the surface, it dives to the bottom of the sea. It takes a deep breath and rests there for a moment, and when everything's calm, it resurfaces. Takes another breath and continues. Aho nui. Now, in each of the words, akahai, lokahi, olu olu, ha'a, and aho nui, is the word aloha. And it is with that that I leave you and welcome you to this gathering of the AUSA 2025. And General Brown, thank you for always having me. With that, from my ancestors to yours, aloha, aloha, aloha. Good morning.
Well, thank you, Ramsey. What a tremendous way to start. Aloha. Aloha. All right, that's pretty good. We ought to be fired up here in Hawaii, but thank you so much for joining us. Really excited. Land Forces Pacific, really unbelievable gathering. You can look around and just really feel we're going to get a lot done. Tremendous panels, fantastic speakers, and then again, industry here to show us the latest and greatest. Doesn't get any better than that. The theme for this year's LANPAC is prevailing through land power. And prevailing through land power. Now we all know, of course, it's a combined joint effort, but land power's key role was really the focus of the topics. And when you look across conflicts we see today from Europe to the Middle East, one truth remains constant: people live on the land, right? They live on the land, and wars are ultimately decided there. That's why this year's theme, Prevailing Through Land Power, is so vital in the Indo-Pacific. Land power provides the positional advantage, it provides the persistent presence, and partnerships that allow us to deter aggression, and that's of course, our main purpose, to deter and never have to fight. But, God forbid, if we do have to, we can fight and win if necessary. Because what happens on land most often determines strategic outcomes, even in a theater named after two oceans. Land is critical. We have an amazing lineup of keynote speakers and educational panels that will discuss organizing, generating, and applying land power within the inherent challenges of the Indo-Pacific, the tyranny of distance that continues to exist. They will convey a comprehensive appreciation of the Indo-Pacific area of responsibility and an enhanced shared understanding of USAPAC's strategic vision nested within U.S. Indo-PACOM. Next door, we've got going on to simultaneously with this, we have 100 of the top leaders, junior leaders from around the Pacific, allies and partners as well included in that. And they're participating in a leadership forum put on by the AUSA Center of Leadership. So just, more than the educational panels here and the industry connection, but developing leaders, understanding, they'll have an incredible understanding of joint and coalition team building in the Pacific as they go through the leaders training. I also want to thank, we also have going on up at Schofield, AUSA's Family Readiness Team supporting a tremendous organization, really Operation Deploy Your Dress. And it supports the soldiers, families, both with suits for formals for the soldiers and dresses for formals, and really is popular across the Army. First time ever that's going on up in Hawaii. In fact, this morning it's kicking off. And as we focus on the future here in this tremendous symposium, it's also important to remember the past, and this is the Army's 250th birthday this year. And we had an Army before we had a nation. You could say we have a nation because we had an Army before we had a nation. So we're very proud. So how about join me in watching this video celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Army. This will defend.
From its founding in 1775, the U.S. Army has defended freedom. Older than the nation itself, the Army has been the shield of our nation, democracy, and way of life, standing strong through the battlefields of the past and challenges of today. Throughout our 250-year heritage, the courage and dedication of our brave men and women have shaped us into the world's premier fighting force. Inspired by the next generation of soldiers, we remain committed to modernization, lethality, and readiness to face tomorrow's threats. Join us in celebrating the Army's 250th anniversary, a multi-year campaign as we honor the past and embrace the future on installations around the world and throughout local communities across the nation. Together, we commemorate the Army's legacy, forged in the fires of conflict and defined by courage. The U.S. Army, proudly serving for 250 years. Established June 14, 1775. This will defend.
Ugh. So again, happy 250th birthday. There are recruiters standing by in the back. And even some old guys like me might be able to talk them into giving us another hitch there, a few more years. But, yeah, it's great. So before we get started, I just want a few thank yous. First, thanks to the tremendous community here. I'm going to introduce the governor in a minute, but unbelievable community here in Hawaii. What a perfect place to have this event. And we're just so grateful for tremendous support. I want to thank the AUSA Pacific region and the AUSA Hawaii chapter. Put a lot of hard work into making this possible. And the Sheraton Waikiki here does an amazing job. Thank you, a huge thank you to them. And you'll see throughout these few days the tremendous job that they do. General Clark, your team, amazing. U.S. Army Pacific, really put together. I've been at every one of these LANPACs going back a long time. This is the best educational program I've seen. So thanks for that tremendous effort and among all the other things they did. And then again, be sure to visit the exhibit floor. We've got tremendous representation from industry. You're going to see the amazing equipment, technology, and innovation. And really, as we were at an event just a little while ago, you can see more here. If you traveled 2 years, you couldn't see all these tremendous industry partners. So they're right here over the next couple days. You're going to make these great connections, and it'll be fantastic. Again, a thank you. All our sponsors who helped put this together, Govini doing an amazing job, and then a whole bunch of other, One Brief and other sponsors. You see them listed there. Really appreciate that. We could not do it without them, that's for sure. And for the international officers that are here, 33 nations, our allies and partners. Unbelievable. It's our advantage, no doubt about it. Thank you for being here. Your presence makes it a successful event. I know it's going to be unbelievable with you here. It just makes a huge difference. And now let me introduce the great governor in the state of Hawaii, Dr. Josh Green. Before his election in 2022, he served as the state's lieutenant governor and was also a member of the State House of Representatives and the State Senate. As chair of the Senate Health and Human Services Committee, he passed some amazing legislation like Luke's Law, which provides care for children with autism spectrum disorder, as well as he was involved in tobacco and e-cigarette regulations that increased the legal age for purchase to 21. Passionate about housing solutions, he helped create the Kahuhale communities to get unsheltered veterans and other people into safe housing options. Tremendous supporter of our military and our veterans. A proud husband and father, he has cared for Big Island families as a doctor for the past 20 years. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Josh Green, Governor.
Aloha. This is by far the most people I've ever seen in this hotel room. I will tell you, this is like 8 times what we've had before. First, let me say General Clark, General Brown, Admiral Paparo, thank you. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you, all of you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment to our troops and our country. Thank you for making Hawaii a focus of what you can do, and thank you for centering and grounding a lot of this effort in the Indo-Pacific region. It means more to us and to people like me than you possibly will know. Though your service is comprehensive, we here in Hawaii recognize the incredible value of our geopolitical position. So again, mahalo, thank you for doing this, being here, and being here for our country. A round of applause for you, because you are incredible. So it's an honor to welcome you to Hawaii. I think many, if not most, are in from across our nation and across the many nations in the Pacific. That's an important thing. I don't know how many of you realize, but the word Oahu means gathering place. That is the traditional word. We had extraordinary lessons from our kahu who helped us with these many words that are important to us, that are reflections of our values, and they obviously translate to our nation. Those values are so similar to the values that are very eloquently expressed by our military leadership over and over again. Perhaps different words, but the same heart and meaning in caring for our nation, caring for our people. And I have to say I was particularly touched to have that moment of acceptance and forgiveness, which is important. It's important for us as people in our country of different ethnicities, different ideologies, but it's important for our world. And so to see it grounded in Hawaii, it really makes me feel very proud as a governor of a small state here in Hawaii. So it's our honor to open this year's LANPAC Symposium with all of you. There are diplomats in addition to the military leadership. The industry innovators mean so much. The innovations that come from DoD research and development change the trajectory of what we can do globally. And I've become very aware of that in my time as a physician, seeing the benefits to our health community globally, but also in our security. So again, an incredible honor for us to get to host. We are here in the heart of the Pacific, as you know. Geographically, the most isolated landmass in the world, second to none. But at the center of the Pacific, the center of what people often say, this is the beginning of the Pacific century, and we are all keenly aware of what's at stake here. So to bring all of you, to bring these many national and international leaders means something. I hope you'll have a lot of time to bond, to find new structure to collaborate on, whether it's through industry and opportunity or through colleagues and wisdom for perhaps this group of 100 young leaders. They will be here 20 years from now in these exact seats. And so we need them and we need your wisdom. We work together. And that is what I'm committed to as Governor of Hawaii. As everyone knows, this is an important place to train, to build our future. And I'm totally committed to working with these good leaders, Admiral Paparo, General Brown, and so many others, to make sure that the future is stable for our region. And I'm grateful to have that opportunity. There are challenges every day here. The challenges range not just from our strategic rivalries, but also to cybersecurity threats, which affect our civilian existence, they affect our military existence. Needless to say, there are some partnerships that we're building, but others are not rooted in trust. And we are challenged by that, and we will hear much more eloquent descriptions of that from Admiral Paparo, and that's why I appreciate him so much. But we're proud to be the home of the U.S. Indo-Pacific, and I will tell you this, when I saw, and leadership changes, but we find ways to work together, when I saw that they had chosen not to threaten cuts to the Indo-Pacific, I would never second-guess any decisions that are made for the military, because I simply don't have that experience and wisdom, but I was grateful to hear from our leadership that at least this region was going to see growth in our resources and not see any pullback, because it's simply that important. We've seen this over and over again, and again, I will let the experts speak to our relationship with China and how it affects Taiwan and how it affects all of us in the Pacific. But it is central to my thoughts every day. My thoughts of how you protect us, how your expertise moves us forward, but really how vulnerable we would be otherwise if we didn't have this relationship. And it's not just military or tech. I also want to say thank you on a whole nother level, on another subject, and that's for your response and support as we've dealt with disasters in the state of Hawaii. Hawaii, as you're pretty aware, has been through quite a lot. We all went through COVID and its impact, and as it rolled through the international community equally. It affected us all, although we were tucked here between Asia, where the virus began, and the United States, where New Yorkers and Californians bombard us with their presence in a positive way, many of whom are my overbearing relatives. So we dealt with that virus in a unique way, seeing it from the perspective of East and West. And we see everything from the perspective of East and West because of our positioning. But then there were other disasters that were unique. Volcanic eruptions, which threatened communities on the Big Island. Hurricanes, which we've seen increase in their strength. And then the wildfire 21 months ago, August 8th, 2023, which took 102 of our loved ones. But I'll tell you who helped us rebuild. The military, our reservists, our leadership stepped in with resources. We could not have saved as many lives without your support. We could not have dealt with some of the crisis without advanced air capacity to lift patients out of the, I would actually say, functionally a war zone during that fire. We could not have recovered financially without so much support. So I need to be clear, it's not only security, it's also the generosity and the heart that the military has brought to us. So it gives us strength. It helps us be more resilient as we face different challenges with energy security and climate. The economic stability that the military offers us is quite extraordinary. Without the military presence to match what we do with visitors coming, there would be no capacity for a governor like myself to work on issues like homelessness, which did, by the way, thank you for that note, did start with veterans. Our first Pauhale, the village that we put together, had 36 tiny homes, of which almost all were occupied by our veterans. Right over at U.S. Vets, who provide all the service and support, psychological, nursing, physicians. That's where our heart is, and that's why it was the first one that we did, because we wanted to honor our veterans. So we honor you today. I hope I'm able to do it comprehensively enough, because I will never be able to express how much appreciation I have for you and all that you do. We'll continue to work together, but most of all, I'm proud of how our indigenous knowledge has combined with the military leadership and its wisdom to create a culture of not just diplomacy, but of an ohana. And the ohana is the family that we celebrate. So again, mahalo for your commitment, your service, for coming and being in Hawaii, your partnership. And this gives me the greatest privilege of the day, which is to introduce a leader of extraordinary dedication, vision, and service. I get to now call up General Ronald P. Clark, our Commanding General of U.S. Army Pacific. Let's give him a round of applause. General Clark is obviously a distinguished general, demonstrating unwavering commitment to the security and stability of the Indo-Pacific region. He is a seasoned warrior, a brilliant strategist, and he is commanded at every single level, ensuring that our nation's readiness here in our region has been strengthened. He strengthens partnerships across the globe, and today is one of those days. His leadership has shaped the future of our armed forces. He has guided soldiers with integrity and excellence. We could not have a more extraordinary leader, so it's with great respect and admiration that I hand this podium over to General Clark.
Governor Green, thank you for that warm introduction. Normally I just start clapping and say, all right, General Clark, good job, but it's the governor of Hawaii. Can't clap him off the stage. But thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you for your leadership, for what you provide, not just to our military, where you're a staunch supporter of all the things we do, but to the state of Hawaii and to the Hawaiian people. We are honored and blessed to have you as the governor. So thank you again. General Bob Brown was my boss 3 times. So anything I screw up here, there's your guy. Sir, thank you for your leadership of AUSA, for your leadership of LANPAC, for the mentorship you've provided to not just me, but to countless others over your continuum of service, which extends through today. Thank you so much, mahalo, for who you are, for you and Patty, and the example of leadership you've provided throughout your entire lives to all of us. So round of applause for General Brown. So the real reason for me being up here is to introduce our first keynote speaker, Admiral Sam Paparo, Commander, U.S. Indo-PACOM. Admiral Paparo commands the oldest and largest of our combatant commands, U.S. Indo-PACOM. 380,000 soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians are under his command. In an area of responsibility that spans, as General Brown would say, from Hollywood to Bollywood and from polar bears to penguins. 52% of the Earth's surface, 60% of the Earth's population. And I would offer that in the Pacific century, he is the right leader for the moment. He personifies excellence in the Joint Force, and I'm fairly certain that he is the only person on this planet that has over 1,100 carrier landings on an aircraft carrier as a naval aviator, and has also commanded a provincial reconstruction team in Afghanistan. So, sir, thank you for your service to the Joint Force, for the example you provide to us every day, and for being my colleague and friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Sam Paparo.
Aloha. It's great to see everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ron, my dear friend, for the warm introduction. I think Governor Green has decamped for the State House, but thank you for his very warm remarks, too, from the heart, as ever it is with Josh Green. Aloha to General Bob Brown. Thanks very much again. Great to see you again, sir. President of AUSA, and most notably, a former USARPAC commander, the surfing general. Thank you, and AUSA for hosting this world-class event. I imagine there was another surfing general in a movie once, was there not? Okay. Roger. Aloha to our allies and partners, too. We have delegations from, I think, 27 nations, or was it 32 nations? 33 nations, forgive me, including Army chiefs from 14. And as Bob said, this is, for all of us in the room, each and every one of us, the asymmetric advantage that we have against our would-be adversaries is this friendship, this network of alliances and partnerships. And to our government leaders, flag general officers, industry leaders, community leaders, innovators, university scholars, and recruiters, we need you guys. Thanks very much for joining us. And finally, and most importantly, a heartfelt aloha to all of our service members of the Joint Force, the backbone of our national defense. Welcome all. I want to talk for about 10 minutes, and then we'll go into questions and answers. I think that's where really the real heart of the matter is. Before going any further, though, just in a little over a month's of time, the nation will celebrate 250 years of the United States Army. Please, to all of our Army soldiers, happy birthday in advance. As discussed, we're facing a profoundly consequential moment here in the Indo-Pacific and accordingly in the world. China's on a dangerous course, from aggressive maneuvers around Taiwan, rehearsals, not exercises. Last year we witnessed China conducted more joint rehearsals than I've seen in X years of service, 38 for me. On a single day, the People's Liberation Army deployed 152 warships, including 3/4 of their amphibious force. 43 brigades conducted combined arms breaching operations, wet gap crossings, and follow-on maneuver to operations in urban terrain on a single day. And simultaneously, we witnessed the furthest ranging combined exercises between China and Russia, and North Korea tested its largest ICBM, potentially capable of reaching anywhere in the continental United States. More concerning is the fact that China, Russia, North Korea, among others, have formed a transactional symbiosis that threatens regional stability. The threat's particularly acute and increasingly interconnected across our global supply chains, which is again why I so appreciated some of the preparation material here and the focus. And this, combined with rapid technological advances in autonomous systems, AI, hypersonics, and big data, this is all very concerning. They demand a coordinated joint and combined response, which is why we fight as an integrated, joint, and combined force with allies and partners. So I want to talk a little bit today about the Army, how meaningful land forces are to maneuver. You know, our doctrine notes 7 joint functions of the joint force, and all of them are equally important. But when I'm asked by land forces, and specifically Army, they say, hey, what do you need from the Army? As if it was only a few of these joint functions that we need from the United States Army. And so I think it's usually a shock when I talk about the key of fires, the king of battle, integrated air and missile defense, sustainment, and all of the other joint functions: intelligence, information, command and control, maneuver, protection, all to a very great extent are intertwined with those joint functions. And so, it was brought up earlier by Bob and by Ron, is that yes, the region is named after oceans, but human beings live on the land. They don't live anywhere else unless we grow gills. I think that's going the other way. And it's just absolutely essential that all of the joint force are intertwined in our joint functions, and in fact, it's joint fires that are the king of battle, and they're provided by everyone. Deterrence is our highest duty, a theme that you heard from both Bob and Ron. And deterrence is that combination of capability and will, and your would-be adversary's knowledge of that demonstrates to them that the potential cost of aggression far outweighs the benefits. So first I want to talk a little bit about the king of battle and fires, and that's the first answer that I give when somebody says, what do you want out of the Army? There is no service that has a monopoly on fires, and every service is indispensable to success and to deterrence, and deterrence must also always be backed up by the real capability to fight and win. The ability to deliver fast, accurate, lethal fires across domains is fundamental. And in the Taiwan Strait, we've got this trap of base 2 thinking, 1 or 0. To prevent a Taiwan invasion, we don't necessarily need immediate maritime or air superiority in the Taiwan Strait. We just must deny its use to the PLA for the use of its aggression. And the Army's fires capability, integrated with the other joint force, is essential to deny that zone by imposing devastating costs across the PLA. About a decade ago, at this LANPAC 2016, General Brown was the USAPAC commander. Then PACOM commander Admiral Harry Harris challenged the crowd to sink ships, neutralize satellites, shoot down missiles, and deny the enemy's command and control. And the Army responded decisively with the creation of multi-domain task forces. Multi-domain task forces in the field now, as I utter these words, in commission now, represent the centerpiece of this response, bringing land-based counter, command, control, communications, computers, and information surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeting capabilities, and this fundamentally alters the strategic calculus in the contested environment. Operating as nodes of Indo-PACOM's Joint Fires Network, the first and third MDTFs contribute sensing capabilities across terrestrial, air, stratospheric, and space layers, enhancing our ability to mass fires and effects precisely at the time and place of our choosing. The precision strike missile, PRISM, is a game changer that fundamentally alters China's risk calculus too. This is a matter of record. With ranges from 500 kilometers to 750 kilometers and further, PRISM does and will allow us to strike critical nodes within China's anti-axis area denial bubble, radar sites, missile launchers, command centers, potentially neutralizing them before the conflict begins. I've personally observed PRISM capabilities during Valiant Shield, where we successfully employed it from an autonomous multi-domain launcher in Palau. The Typhon mid-range capability combines SM-6, maritime strike Tomahawks, and Tomahawks on a common platform, providing mobility and flexibility throughout the area of responsibility. And meanwhile, the long-range hypersonic weapon adds a strategic layer to our deterrent posture. These capabilities, along with space, cyber, electronic warfare functions, operate from key terrain in the first island chain and near strategic maritime choke points, creating distributed, survivable, persistent, and lethal effects. That's why fires is the capability from the Army and from Land Force that I most treasure in this region. Protection and integrated air and missile defense. This is absolutely critical as well. The missile threat in the Indo-Pacific is growing in both quantity and sophistication. China continues developing advanced missile systems, including hypersonics. North Korea has demonstrated its capability to launch multiple ballistic missiles simultaneously. Our integrated air and missile defense, our shield against these threats, must be resilient, adaptive, responsive to evolving challenges. While our allies share common threats, There's no one-size-fits-all solution. We must have a constellation of like-minded nations with the ability to cooperate and maintain resilient supply chains as well. From U.S. to Japan, from the Republic of Korea, Australia, to our ASEAN partners, to our partners in the Indian Ocean, our region's strength lies in our ability to interoperate. Integrated air and missile defense is about interoperability, and by connecting these defense systems, sharing intelligence, and coordinating responses, we create a common operating picture and then accordingly a combined defense shield. Strengthening IAMD depends heavily on Army Patriot, on THAAD, and the Army's absolutely indispensable and central contributions to the Guam defense system, exemplifying IAMD's importance and serving as a vanguard for homeland defense and innovative technologies. The third of the functions that I'll discuss is sustainment. We attribute five-star Omer Bradley by saying amateurs talk strategy, professionals talk logistics. I think there was a fellow from France that said that once as well. Success in any contingency, that's Napoleon, by the way. An army travels on his stomach, something like that. All right. Success in any contingency depends on robust logistics network that can withstand sophisticated attacks while supporting distributed operations. In this AOR, effective sustainment isn't just important, it's existential. AI is revolutionizing sustainment, enabling us to proactively replenish our warfighters, to see and advance and to push logistics. And by employing AI, we're anticipating requirements against all classes of supply, including fuel, ammunition, missiles, and identifying optimal delivery methods, particularly in contested environments. The Army's role in theater-wide sustainment cannot be overstated. As the Department of Defense's executive agent for much of our logistics enterprise, Army provides the backbone of our ability to sustain combat power across the region. And U.S. INDOPACOM continues to develop joint theater distribution concepts. These operational support areas serve as critical logistics nodes with the Army's expertise absolutely central to establishing and operating these critical nodes. The Army's theater opening capabilities provide the foundation for receiving, staging, and integrating forces across the theater. And in exercise, Salak Nib, Balakatan, Cobra Gold, Talisman Saber, Super Garuda Shield, Bersama Warrior, among many, many others. Army logisticians demonstrate these capabilities in ensuring the Joint Force can rapidly transition from competition to crisis to conflict. The challenges we face in the Indo-Pacific are formidable, but not insurmountable. The Army's contribution to the joint functions are transformative and inspiring. But we all must do more, faster, better, smarter, more enabled by AI tools. And we need to do it now. Need to do it yesterday, but we need to do it now. Deterrence remains our highest duty, backed by real, credible combat power. Exactly what our joint force delivers, exactly what land forces deliver. Thanks all for everything that you do, and it will be my honor to take some questions. Thank you.
Sir, if it's okay, I'm going to kick things off with the first question.
Yes, please. A gentleman, and there was a live participant that is ready to go.
Hello, sir. I'm the military attaché from the Netherlands here in the US, Peter Nieuwenhuis, Colonel. I have a question about your ideas about the role of partners and allies in your region. And I do not mean the role of partners and allies present in your region, but for example, in Europe, like the Netherlands, and in competition, crisis, and conflict.
Thank you, sir. The first is that the first thing I think that it's very important to acknowledge is that we tend to talk about the Indo-Pacific, we tend to talk about Europe as if the world was suborganized on the United States' unified command plan, when the world and history has other, has other opinions on the matter too. Because as we're talking about our alliances and partnerships, if you're in this room, we're really talking about market democracies. We're talking about countries that are committed to a free and open Indo-Pacific and world. And here we notice that increasingly threats are global. They are interconnected. Events in one continent have a great bearing on events in others. We have deep friendships that enable us to share information. And so I think that, as we talked about earlier, that our alliances and partnerships are indispensable to our success and our key asymmetric advantage. It's important to, A, not draw so tight a distinction between parts of the world. As I utter these words, Russian, an Indo-Pacific power, North Korean, an Indo-Pacific country, are now operating together in Ukraine, and events there will have an effect on deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. There are key lessons being learned worldwide, which, if we ignore them, will have been a dereliction of duty. So taking on board every lesson learned that we possibly can. And whenever we operate together, we demonstrate the solidarity of our alliances and partnerships. And that has 2, 3, 10x quality on our deterrence. Thank you so much for your question.
Admiral, Ken Kreitzer, CamVets Media. We're in White Plains, New York. I just want to ask you about the the interview you did in 2023 on 60 Minutes with Norah O'Donnell that really brought the challenge of the Indo-Pacific to the American public. I just wondered if you'd have thoughts that would update what you said 2 years ago on 60 Minutes.
Well, 2 or 3 years ago, I think that the one of the main points that I wanted to make in the interview was that while we are identifying threats and the growing capability of those that would change the status quo by force, I and we still remain confident in our ability to prevail. And we should make no mistake about that. What we are buying down is the bill. And the bill is in people, capability, money, and time. And we are buying margin by pacing our enemies. And when we pay close attention to events, when we pay close attention to what they're doing, and we raise the alarm among ourselves, we're running to problems. And running to the problems and that introspection is, in fact, what's going to enable us to pace the threat. So that was kind of the main theme within that interview. It was specifically focused on the United States Navy, but I think you see this in the narrative across all of our services, is the need to pace our would-be adversaries in our capability. And we sometimes mistake the challenges, and we apply this fatalistic culture to it, as if our would-be adversaries say that we're a declining power, despite a growing economy, a growing population, and on the forefront of innovation in almost every area, and we take up that narrative. And so I think that while identifying problems to run to, it's also very important to demonstrate to ourselves, to those we lead, our confidence. And it is our ability to run to problems and to be honest with ourselves that does give us that confidence. Not everybody can bring bad news to the boss, but if you're in this room, you're in a force that can bring bad news to your boss
and the boss will link arms with you and say, let's run to that problem together. Thank you, sir.
Admiral Paparo, Ginger Cruz from Manton International.
Oh, forgive me. How do you do?
Could you just discuss briefly what kind of changes we should see in the joint forces due to the great advancements in space? We're now talking about low Earth orbit satellites that are changing how we view submarines and land forces and sea forces. We see Russia and North Korea really advancing. How is that shifting, perhaps, or feeding into your strategies for the Indo-Pacific? Thank you, sir.
First, I speak of and I acknowledge that the very first battle in any conflict will take place in space and cyber. And that's because the very first battle is a battle for information superiority. And the proliferation in low Earth orbit, middle Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, and geosynchronous orbit of both the United States and our allies and partners, about a half a generation ahead of the PRC, enjoying 90% of the world's space lift, soon to be 99.9+% of the world's space lift. It is critically important to maintain this highest of high grounds, to do so in a way that is treaty compliant, that does not weaponize space, and we are absolutely dedicated to our commitment to not weaponize space, but the use of space to enable us to achieve information superiority, that ability to see, understand, decide, act, assess, and learn over our would-be adversaries. Our adversaries have proliferated a great deal in space. In the last 4 years, I've seen approximately 5x growth from the People's Republic of China in space. And so winning this race, prevailing in this race, this competition, and it's a race that has no end. We're always in constant generations of overmatch with our would-be adversaries. That's the nature of deterrence. That's the nature of the evolution and innovation within our technologies. So to continue to leverage our proliferation in LEO efforts, many private companies are in this space, and that ability to employ that capability to enhance our information advantage and our ability to defend that constellation, and that ability to ensure that our would-be adversaries can't use space in order to prevail across the allies. That counter space capability is really just absolutely key. The first battle is space and cyber. That's the ability to execute information warfare, most specifically to see and understand what's going on between the Kármán line and the surface, and that's where human beings are, and then to use that information to outpace our would-be adversaries. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Celia Powell from Department of Defense, Office of Inspector General. I wanted to know if you could expound upon how you believe that AI tools can enhance our interoperability and deterrence as we move forward.
Thank you, Celia. So I'll give you an anecdote, and that anecdote is that let's say that we're having an exercise and General Clark walks in the morning, and in this exercise we are exercising our most stressing operational plan. And General Clark goes in, he goes to the Ops and Intel meeting, and all of his codes tell him what's going on across 8 Napoleonic codes around our would-be adversaries, the environment, and ourselves. And then he has his commander's update brief. And in his commander's update brief, all of his commanders are also giving him a similar briefing of what's going on. And then there comes this moment when everybody has told General Clark exactly what they have to tell him. And now they all stare at him and say, okay, boss, what do we do? And he has a deep database to call on. You know, he's got 38 years in the Army command at every level leading up to USARPAC, 4-star Army command. He's read extensively. Has he read everything? Has he read everything ever written in Mandarin, in Russian? Has he read every war game that's been conducted in open source, on CIPRNet at our highest levels of intelligence? No. That's all data that he does not have access to. But a large language model that has got access to that and can use that as a massive lookup table, and with the right prompts, General Clark can enhance his own indispensable experience with something that a machine can do way faster with access to more data than he's ever had. Now I'll step down a level, and now we talked about our joint functions. And so you've got intel, which is what is your would-be adversary doing? Your information, what do they know? Command and control, the ability to turn commander's intent into action. Maneuvering to a location, employing a fire, doing so under the right conditions of protection, and then sustaining the force, all in a contested environment, to optimize each step along the way, to affect the counter C5ISR effects it takes to take space that you can maneuver in, either to fire or to sustain. This is not going to be achieved this can be achieved at a staffing table among Napoleonic codes, but think of how you can do the multiple objective linear programming to understand how each affects the other to come up with optimal solutions among it all. And then finally, I'll take us down a layer, and that would be on the tactical edge, and the ability to employ hundreds, thousands of unmanned, inexpensive vehicles that either employ ordnance or they themselves become ordnance, to have that compute on the edge, to execute that with human oversight. All of these are absolutely essential applications at the strategic level. What are we doing at the strategic level? At the operational level, how are we linking these functions? And on the edge, which is how do we never send a human being to do something that a machine can do? We never lose human agency over offensive power. And when we are at risk, then we have the ability, the moral duty, to put all of our compute power in order to defend against salvos that are coming at us. And who employs the better models faster, more extensively across the force, that make it habits of mind and habits of action where we can learn from each other, is going to win this race. And we must be backed up by the best AI tools, informed by the best data, informed by the best compute. And so these are the applications in the 21st century of AI as they support not just our own decision-making, but autonomous system. We're in a race, and we'll win. Thank you, Celia.
Admiral Mick Bednarik, Floor Corporation. Sir, great to see you again. And again, thanks for joining us. I was taken by your remarks earlier regarding logistics. Clearly in this theater, and Ron certainly knows it, and Bob before him, Charlie Flynn, etc., the tyranny of distance that we have across your combatant command. Similar to Mike Langley in AFRICOM, you just can't get there from here, that last tactical mile, so to speak. You talked about the joint theater logistics nodes around the AOR, but quite honestly, logistics remains our Achilles heel, and our allies and partners here, we struggle with this as a matter of routine. All of our exercises, our rehearsals, and you highlighted many of the exercises you are personally familiar with, and everybody else here. But in the audience here, for all of us, you have a lot of the defense industrial base. So the question for you, and certainly your component commanders that quite honestly are the requirements generators up to you, how can we in the defense industrial base help you, help the theater as we shape this tyranny of distance and the logistics nodes and the challenges as we face for the longer term future. Sir, thanks.
Thank you, sir. First is that I'm always trying to cheat the TIPFID, TIPFID, time, phase, force deployment. And so always trying to forward position as much materials, 9 classes of supply, as we possibly can, so that when the unforgiving hour comes, we're not on our back foot. So to have X days of supply on hand forward that comports with our posture plan. Posture is that combination of the right quantity and right capability of forces, along with the bases, places, and airfields, ports, piers, repair facilities distributed throughout the theater. So pre-position is a first important element. Next is the joint sustainment force, whether that's a material command, air mobility command, military sea lift command, and the so-called unsexy stuff that are a sine qua non, a without which not. The combat logistics force, the gray tails, and across all domains, our ability to move force is how do we make what we have readier, more ready? As I utter these words, I think there are 17 military sea lift command ships laid up because of personnel. They're presumably materially ready. How many maintenance delays do we have on this? What's the availability of our tanker fleets and our cargo fleets, our C-17s? And so finding creative solutions to make what we have more ready, more responsive, and then what are the kind of capabilities next? Console tanking, craft, the employment of whitetails, innovative contract services that will enable us to close those gaps, and really just the ability to build out a more robust sustainment force. So in summary, pre-PO, maintenance of the current capability, creative solutions in order to increase our capacity. Our would-be adversaries study the Second World War, and I give them great credit for their scholarship. And when they do, they universally come up with the conclusion that it was the logistics force that was the winning key advantage in the Second World War. And that was over a tyranny of distance, as you so stated. Thank you.
Sir, thank you for helping us kick off LANPAC. Let's give Admiral Paparo a big round of applause.
Well, thanks, Admiral Paparo. Absolutely fantastic. I'm Jack Haley, Vice President of Membership and Meetings at AUSA. I think we can all agree Admiral Paparo is the right leader at the right time. I have the privilege of taking you to break. All right, so we're going to take a break until 10:45. Please join us in the exhibit halls for some refreshments. Our refreshment break is sponsored by International SOS, so thank you, International SOS. And we'll see you back here at 10:45, and we'll kick off the first panel, Sinews Across the Pacific. Thank you.
Great folks here. I think it's the perfect mix of skill and experience across their long careers in support and the things they have done in the Indo-Pacific realm as well. So I'm going to start with introductions, and then we'll do some welcoming remarks. To my right is Lieutenant General Jared Helwig. He is the Deputy Commander of the U.S. Transportation Command, or TRANSCOM. They have a global responsibility to project and sustain